Yeah, I mean, for me, I think that it really clears up the picture for those next two spots in the college football playoff. To me, I have it relatively locked in with two SEC teams. Whoever wins the East and the West, I think they're both going to get in. To me, I hope it's Georgia and Alabama, specifically Georgia for my previous praise. But I think when you look at it at the big picture now, you have a susceptible Ohio State team. I thought Minnesota gave them a run for their money in the first week too, and to kind of piggyback off our earlier conversation with Michigan, I think it now leaves the East a little bit open, and I think a team like Penn State should be really licking their chops coming off a big win up at Wisconsin, beating a foe from the West. And then being able to kind of piggyback off of a big win from not a big win, but just a win over Ball State today pretty decisively and getting in a rhythm and trying to figure their things out in terms of how they want to do things moving forward throughout the season. So I think for the Big Ten, it really opens up a chance for someone in the East to take advantage of it. For Ohio State, they kind of left the wound wide open and haven't put any stitches on that puppy yet. So we'll see what happens. But I'm excited to see what it means for the Big Ten, what it means for the grand scheme of college football, because I really think that it now has solidified two playoff spots to be up for grabs. You have a one-loss Clemson in the ACC. You have Bryce's Bearcats up there trying to scrap and claw and put a resume together that can
get past the Murray State
spot. So. Yeah, Murray States and whatever. So I think it's interesting.
We got the dub. We're eating dubs.
Yeah. You did indeed get the dub. Trevor, I want to go to you because from every big win, you can't have a big win. I hate to call it an upset, but it is. You cannot have an upset without some type of pivotal performance quarterback. Like the other units can't pull off an upset. They can support you and give the edge, but the quarterback has to drive you through. Anthony Brown's a transfer. Played his ball at Boston College, just arrived and now he's part of one of the pivotal program wins they've had. And I mean, easier transfer quarterback. You've done this. You've won after transferring and had program changing wins. What did you see from Anthony Brown? How big is this going for the Ducks?
Well, I'll tell you what I saw out of Anthony Brown, which is huge for that team going forward. They had their marquee matchup here at the beginning of the year, which is tough for any quarterback, but especially a guy coming in from another school. Obviously, he's played ball before. He's got a foundation of respect, but he is still in the process of earning these guys' respect day in and day out. You can tell by the way that he carries himself that he's done a good job up to this point of getting that team behind him. But a staple win like this, the way that he was able to stay even keel throughout this matchup, keep throwing punches left and right when Ohio State was trying to come back, he won his team over. It's going to be fun to watch him throughout the rest of the year, where I think they've only got, as it stands right now, two other matchups in the Pac-12 that are even worth watching, right? I think they run the table. I think he's going to continue to be better and better. He may even be in the Heisman talk here at the end of the year, which is a really, really fun story from a guy that transferred, because it's hard. I mean, even though you've played a lot of ball before, to come into a new locker room where you didn't get to go and spend, freshman workouts together and earn these guys respect. You didn't get to hang out in the dorm rooms and get to chop it up with these guys. You come in, you show them by the way you work that you mean business, and that's what he's showing up there in Eugene.
I love that. And like that, honestly, what people don't really get. They just see player, they see huddle, say go. And it's an awful lot of galvanizing and what you got to do behind the scenes, the dog days of summer. I love that breakdown. Bryce Petty, I know you watched this thing from kickoff to ending. The biggest thing, and yes, both quarterbacks impacted the game differently. It was a great coached game by both. Ohio State, first time we saw 100,000 get back in the horseshoe in those 2 years. But the biggest takeaway you had was
Yeah, that to be totally honest with you, I like watching in terms of just position specific. I like watching both those guys battle a little bit. To Hack's point, going back a little bit earlier, that Band-Aid to me is the front seven of Ohio State. You got guys talk about, DBU, receiver U, QBU, whatever. If you go kind of back into the history of ball, I mean, Ohio State's, you got Bosa brothers, you got Casey Hayward, you got dudes that come out of Ohio State. And if I'm in that room, I'm pissed. Oh, dude. Yeah. Chase Young's who's a freak. You got guys like that leadership in that room needs to take over because you have 2 consecutive games of 200 plus on you.
I'm going to tell you what, though, Bryce, that's one of the least experienced Ohio State front sevens that we've seen in years. And that's where I think they are most susceptible. So I think that's a great point. And I didn't mean to cut you off, but I want you to keep expanding upon that because Josh Perry and I have been talking about that, who is a guy who was part of that front seven at Ohio State on our podcast. And he's been so worried about that going into the season, texting today. And I think it's a great point to expand upon. Yeah,
well, do it again. If you cut me off, I'm going to come with bows.
Yeah.
You're right.
It's totally, but no,
but shaking in my boots.
That's a great point. That's a great point. You don't have to. I mean, dang. You know what? We'll go hunt this fall and figure that out. But the idea of having an identity year in and year out, and we talked about it with obviously the Alabama game last week. It does not matter who they have in there. They know who they are. They come in because there's tradition, there's history, and I have a certain standard to play at. Ohio State doesn't have that right now in front seven. That's a great point on the experience part. Maybe that's what that is lacking. Somebody's got to step up in that world. On the flip side of that, I love watching Oregon come in. Go ahead.
Go ahead. You love watching Oregon and what?
Yeah. No, on the flip side of that, I love watching Oregon come in because they did barely escape Fresno State. No one was really – I think that they had the line at 14.5 for Ohio State. So that tells me, man, no one believes you can come in the shoe and win. Minus the fact or add the fact, rather, that they got their 2 best guys on defense not in the lineup today. So I thought they came out hungry. They came out passionate with something to prove. And to your point, Trevor, on this Anthony Brown kid – transfer or not, Oregon played, I think, 5 games last year. You don't really know who you are coming into this season. It's kind of a brand new scrape, but, running through CJ Burdell, that dude for $161 and 2 touchdowns lets you, kind of just breathe and operate. I think that's something that I really took away from Anthony Brown's performance today is he just operated. If they do that, I love Trevor's pick going, running the table in the Pac-12 because I think they've got a really potent offense along with the stout defense too.
George, I want to ask you this: watching that game back and forth.
Yep.
If you don't mind, I was just going to ask you, being a guy that is a little bit more removed than the rest of us, and the QB guru yourself. You've trained a lot of these guys from a mentality standpoint. What do you see when you're watching games on Saturdays in a guy like Anthony Brown down the stretch, just from his demeanor, his pocket presence? I mean, what is that through your eyes? Was that impressive, or would you teach it that way? You see what I'm saying?
Yes. So the question, I love the question because a lot of people look at a quarterback's impact on a game. They go straight to the stat sheet. He was just around 500 and he only threw for 200 yards. Well, that might be because, they played with a nickel package most of the game, and a lot of those incompletions were him beating sacks, so they weren't in trouble and getting rid of the ball, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when you ask about Anthony Brown, for me, I love the performance because job one this week against Ohio State, it wasn't to be a play damage. He had no crucial mistakes. Yeah. Oregon couldn't have survived a crucial mistake. He didn't throw a why not ball. We all know it's hard when you're back there. You got an extra beat of time. You see somebody scream, why not? Like, he didn't throw that. He didn't try anything. He never had tonight. He never threw dice. He made the pragmatic play. he was in tune with his coordinator. He knew what the circumstances were, and he just simply did his job, pulled the ball down when he needed to, got to the checkdowns when he needed to. And think about, yes, the Ohio State front seven is not what we're accustomed to seeing. And to me, it kind of reminds what Bama was a couple years ago when Tua was rolling, and they were beating teams 30. That front seven wasn't great either, but they could kind of mask it. Maybe that's what Ohio State is today. But they got rid of the ball. See them in a ton of second and 25s, a bunch of third and 20s. He just mitigated damage. So ask about his performance and what did I pull from him. Just really arriving there. My job is to keep the ship steady. Get my job done. Let the rest of these guys play ball. And my coaches will figure it out because Oregon's coaches, I thought they were incredible in all phases. Without, like you said, Bryce, he
didn't lose
their two biggest. No, he did not lose the game.
And then real quick, before you go on.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Right. But you have to, and I love this because the kid's 19 years old, threw for 450 today, I think. 480, 484. Bro, he had deep outs. He had right hash all the way to the left sideline. I mean, he is growing up.
I saw that.
Dude, hey, Columbus has got their guy. Again, to the same point that we were talking about with Anthony Brown, didn't lose the game. He had a pick late, trying to make something happen a little hot. But that guy with Ryan Day for the next 4 years, dude, if he's there for 4 years.
He ain't going to make it for you.
Yeah.
He ain't going to be for you.
CJ Stroud, hey, you can play, brother. Yeah.
So, Hack, Trevor, the thing I love, Stroud, and we've talked about this on the field a lot. He throws with so much customer service. You see Ohio State diving, slowing down, getting tackled by the ball. When that dude puts a ball out there, you can keep right on about your business. The customer service is incredible. Most like his overall passing ability, but he did look young. That last series he had when he just kept it coming out of bounds or put it up out of bounds, look young by just saying. It kind of goes back to where says this thing work. Maybe it doesn't. Youth thing, is that a mark of youth?
It absolutely is. As you go through the ranks, as you go through contests, you build that confidence up to where you're an older guy. And it doesn't necessarily just happen on game day. It happens in the locker room too. You feel yourself growing up in the locker room by the way that your guys look at you. Yeah. And then when the whole world's watching you, it comes out, right? That takes time. But to your point, he's got the tools. When he develops that confidence to go down and win a football game, he is going to be scary to watch. But in terms, I love that phrase that you use about just putting the ball on the money, right? Right. I asked a guy that I played with who's playing for the Cardinals now, in Christian Kirk. I said, hey, what is the biggest difference between me and Kyler Murray? Because I was curious what his answer would be. And obviously there's a lot of things. I mean, I'm way faster. I'm way shiftier, all those things. But he said, you throw a very hard ball. He said, you're accurate. Yeah, it gets there. But when I catch the ball, it hits my hands hard, right? When Kyler throws the ball, yeah, it's got zip on it. It gets there on time. But every single time it's like catching a pillow. And so that was interesting to me. And I saw that today in CJ Stroud, where these guys, it just feeds into their body. It's just effortless. They just put it right in the breadbasket. That's a sign of a guy that can get it done.
Would you repeat that again? What Christian said about Kyler's ball? It got lost. At least over here, it got lost.
Yeah, no, he said it was a soft ball.
You were saying,
right?
The difference. What is Kyler's, Christian?
Yeah, he said it was a soft ball. It was like catching a pillow, right? I would rear back on a 3-step slant route, and I'd try to fit it in there and throw it super hard, and it would just be a very difficult catch. Kyler's ball comes in regardless of what the throw is. If he's putting it on a line, if it's a 2-ball or he's airing it out, it just hits your hand soft, and that's what I saw in CJ Stroud today. Ball just hitting these guys' hands in stride. on the money, and it was soft and catchable, which is a big promising point for him moving forward with timing with those guys and just with completing football passes and getting the ball in the hands of his playmakers.